Okay, it's about 9:05, so I'm gonna go ahead and get started for those who wanted to jump on the call but may have some things to do. So to just briefly go over what I do, I really just started speaking to younger adults, those who are in high school or maybe in undergrad, and talk to them about my experience with student loans and pretty much talking to them about why they should avoid them. Because if you have student loans already, if you're making payments on them already, you already know why they should be avoided. Uh, so that's pretty much what I talk to them about. And the way that I got myself out there is I really just started calling high schools in my local area to talk to their students about student loan avoidance. And then just based on my own experience, I had a full scholarship, but there were extra fees once I got to undergrad. So I started calling the local colleges in my area as well and speaking to different programs or at different schools. um, Pretty much everybody that I called was interested in the information that I have to offer because all parents and administrators already know that student loan debt is a problem, and if there are ways that we can avoid it, why not? Um, so when I go to the school, I just briefly speak to them about student loans and why they should avoid them. And like I said before, if you have student loan debt already, you can already think of a few reasons on why they should be avoided, even if it's just the payback amount. If you have federal student loans, a payment of $100, $150 could be very inconvenient if your income is low. And if you have private loans where your repayment amount could be a few hundred to over $1,000 a month, you fully understand how that can get in the way of a mortgage or trying to make a car note payment or even just trying to raise a family. That's a lot of money to spend out when it could be avoided just by taking a few hours in advance of going to school or whatever you're doing instead of accruing that lifelong debt. And then just some other things, if you're not paying them on time, that affects your credit, which again affects you being able to secure a mortgage or an apartment or a car note. And then even if it gets bad enough that you're not paying, your wages could be garnished, even your Social Security income, if you've not paid this debt off before you retire. So we're already aware of those things because we're older. We have a few degrees under our belt sometimes. So taking your perspective on student loans to talk to somebody else who has not experienced that or only has a few thousand so far, you can definitely help them uh, avoid a lot of the things that you dealt with. And then a whole different perspective comes if your target market are those who are pursuing graduate degrees and they may be close to their loan limit. So they have all this debt hanging over their head, and now they have to start figuring out how to pay for college out of pocket. These services are definitely needed. So when I speak to the schools, like I said, I briefly tell them why they should avoid student loans. They already know they're out there. And I stress the importance of, you do the FAFSA and it's all electronic. You really don't have to stop and talk to anybody when you get accepted to the school. It's electronic. When the school sends your information back to FAFSA or vice versa, all of that's electronic. You often get an email saying that you've been awarded. Then you may get another email saying that you're going to get a refund. And there are some, clauses in there that you have to read to say, you have to pay this money back. Please only take out what you need. But nobody is really paying attention to that. So coming in under this niche or this perspective on why you should avoid limiting the amount of student loans that you have to take out, it's important. And talking to people about why they should do it is important as well. Even if you're just talking about remember to continually apply for scholarships or even taking something that you like already to create side income. And so that's pretty much what I talk to them about, why they should avoid student loans and ways that they can bring in extra money before they actually go to college or before the next semester so they can pay less out of pocket or through student loans. And so I give the students access to a free course, and some of you may have already been through the course based on a prior conversation we had about people needing scholarships or being close to their loan limits. And that free course pretty much reminds them to apply for scholarships on a regular basis. Just think about how much money you could have collected if somebody was saying to you, hey, apply for scholarships, hey, work on your essay, hey, go back in and apply for some more scholarships. Even after you start college, keep applying for scholarships. So just on a continual basis, just like drilling that into somebody's head, scholarships, 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 and creating your own side income, which if it grows into enough income to create a business, then we walk students through that as well. It's just really about finding traditional or even non-traditional ways to go ahead and secure your future without pretty much risking your future income on it, because that's pretty much what student loans are. Go to college now and pay us back based on the money you expect to earn. But we all know once you graduate, that doesn't guarantee you a job. Some of us may not finish, may take a little longer to finish. And if that's the case, your student loan payment is coming due before you even have the money to pay it. So talking to students about that, people need to know it. People need to be warned. People need to be reminded on a regular basis. And that's pretty much what the company I started does. So, like I said, I talk to students about my student loan experience, why they should avoid them, and I give them access to a free course where they are continually reminded to apply for scholarships or to create side income, and even just get them to doing their own market research or picking out a target market, different things like that. And the free course kind of funnels them in to my membership site where we continue to talk about financial literacy and actually go through the steps of setting up a legit business by getting an EIN or applying for your business license through the state, or creating flyers or creating a domain name in your website, all of that. And since I've started speaking now, because of word of mouth, people are calling and asking, hey, could you come speak to our students? How much would you charge for that? And even with building the relationships with some of the counselors I've spoken with, they're indicating that sometimes students are unmotivated. So even though the course is free and accessible through their smartphone, they need a consistent reminder. And that's how I came up with the workshop that I mentioned to you guys. So the workshop is paid, and I'm really just creating an environment for students to gather in a virtual environment, because we're really just going to do recorded sessions or live sessions like this where you can see me talking and they're on their computer looking for scholarships, applying for scholarships, asking questions. Some days we may be getting them to create at least one digital product that they can go ahead and sell to create extra income. So they would be asking questions about that or getting that set up. And that workshop is going to be over Christmas break. And like I said, I marketed that directly to the counselors I've already dealt with, and they told their students about it. The students talked to their parents about it, and I've already reached my enrollment, or the number that I set for enrollment. So before it even started, I'm already have collected the funds necessary to do whatever it is I need to do to make sure these students are in an environment to actually find some extra money for school. So like I said, when you build the relationship with the counselors, you really just have to ask them what else do they need to make their job a little easier based on like the college search, scholarship search, things like that. And they'll tell you what you need so you can base your future communication, future courses, future products based off of what your target really needs. So if you really want to get started with this, I'm going to tell you pretty much what I use to get this started. So I did mention that I offer a free course, and then it kind of funnels them into my paid courses. All of my courses are created with Google Sites. You can Google Sites or find YouTube videos on Google Sites to figure out how to use that yourself. The payment processor that I use is Square, and the marketing technique that I use is I really just started calling local schools in my area, both high schools and colleges, and asked if I could speak to their students about avoiding student loans. And everybody I spoke with was interested. So that's how I got my brand Income Reinvented out in the local area. And then administrators started sharing what I was doing with other administrators they knew. So people from other surrounding towns started asking me to come out. I've even done some virtual webinars for some schools that are too far for me to travel to, but they want the information for their students. So they'll pretty much have an assembly where the students come and watch the presentation, but because it's live interaction, they can ask questions and I can answer from the screen. So I don't want to say it's easy, but it's very doable, especially, like I said, with the Google Site, Square, and calling directly to schools to speak with guidance counselors or financial aid counselors to see if you can speak with their students. You know, that's really how I got started. So you can move out on that. That's why I said get your pencil and paper, because you really can research these things on your own to get started. And then if you really just want to focus on finding schools to talk to and marketing the product, I can either make the product for you or show you how to do it yourself. So if you're interested in that, definitely reach out and we can go about building a quote for what you want to focus on. But like I said, this is very doable by yourself. You would just be paying me for the convenience of me being able to do it faster and get you set up and moving before this new semester starts after the Christmas break, because there's going to be high focus on scholarships, college admission rates, all of that, especially this coming year, because there are so many people getting ready to graduate and go to college. So it would be a good idea to go ahead and move out, to get this set up over the next few weeks. So by January, when schools are back in, you can go out to your local community and talk to people about what you're offering, and even start offering weekend camps or holiday camps, so students can pretty much pay you to create an environment for them to come out and apply for scholarships or create some type of digital product. And if you're thinking whether you really can do it, I honestly think so. It's so needed. Tuition is rising. Tuition is always going up. And I recently read an article where it talked about some school is raising the tuition cost of a bachelor's degree to $100,000. That is a lot of debt, especially when most aggregate loan limits are at $134,000. So once you have this expensive bachelor's degree, what job at the bachelor's degree level is going to pay enough to pay off that $100,000 loan, let alone if you want to go for a master's or a terminal degree? Where would the extra money come from if you're not applying for scholarships or creating your own income? And it's nothing that's extremely hard. It's just a conversation, because most people are used to, let me get a job while in high school, and it's usually minimum wage. While in college, you may still have a minimum wage job, because a lot of people aren't willing to hire. If you don't have education or experience, then you run into issues about not having experience because you stopped to go to college. You know, there's so much keeping you out of, like, pretty much increasing the wealth gap and keeping us out of it. You need to think outside of the box sometimes. And even though student loans and college and debt is a common, it's common. These are not new topics, but what's new is a focused effort on people avoiding student loans, and you can be a part of that initiative, both helping students who don't have them avoid them and talking to students who may have them already. Because if you go into your first semester with loans, but you can start creating your own income, so those are the only loans you have to take out, it'd be so much easier to pay them off or to continue paying, because unless you're going to a highly expensive school, I don't see how tuition should be more than maybe $5,000 to $7,000 per semester. That's a very doable amount if you break it down in specific chunks. I know that we see people who get scholarships $1 million or hundreds of $1,000s at a time, but that's not necessarily what we're shooting for. If so, great, but we're taking baby steps. The same way that you work this month to get a check for this month to pay this month's bill, let's focus on scholarships and creating your own income for this next semester. And if you're able to get students to start early enough, like in ninth grade or maybe even younger, they could have enough secured before they go. But your focus and your target is, let's secure this one semester, let's secure the next semester, as many semesters as you can, and just keep working toward it. So you'll continue to have these workshops or repeat customers, because you're offering an ongoing service that will benefit people if they're actually doing the work. So you definitely can do it. And then every school I have contacted, their guidance counselors are stressed out and overworked, and so is our college financial aid offices. So there is there is a high need for what we're offering, and there are, repeat customers. You start talking to students and you continue to help them on an ongoing basis until they're finished with college, and then there'll be more students in school, more coming through the process. And as you continue to build relationships with both your customers and the schools, the income really is unlimited, because once the students that you start working with today graduate, there's another group coming right on through. And if you have multiple colleges and can even speak with these colleges or high schools in a way that they want to pay you to offer the information to your students, that is a set amount of income that's coming from a business type organization where you're getting consistent pay versus having to market to individuals or students or parents. But both are open. You can start with the students and parents, then focus on the schools. You can focus on all three. The options really are unlimited for what you can do, just based on the experience that you have with student loans already. So like I said, I won't hold you for a lot of time. I'll go ahead and answer some of the questions that I received ahead of time, and we can just do a follow-up conversation if you guys think of more questions, because like I said, I don't want to hold you, so you can either email them to me and I can answer them online, or respond via email, or set up another webinar. But some quick questions are: how long did it take me to make money? To be honest, I quit my full-time job to focus solely on this on July 8th. And school started in August, so I knew that I wanted to talk to the various schools, um, and offer my product. So I started talking at the end of August. By the beginning of September was the first time I received an offer to be paid. However, with the students that did enroll in my free course in August, some of them had already started signing up for the membership site because they wanted to take advantage of the information I had about creating digital products, or taking anything that they like to create money right now instead of applying for a traditional job. So I really started making money maybe a month after I decided to focus on this. And that's why I told you what I did. But if you want to save time, or don't want to take the time to research and put all that together, or don't really want to step out and leave your full-time job, you can pay me to set it up for you. You can pay me to show you how to set it up. Either is an option, but that's a way for you to go ahead and get started, to show yourself that you can make money without quitting your full-time position, and then keep doing it until you feel comfortable with leaving. Um, Another question is, are people really interested in what you're offering? Yes, if you have student loans already, you can already imagine how this would have benefited you if somebody talked to you about these things. We knew about scholarships. I even applied for a scholarship, had a full scholarship for undergrad, but I still ended up taking out loans for a master's or my terminal degree. So if there was a constant reminder to, hey, you can still apply for scholarships even though this is not your first degree. You can still apply for scholarships even though you're already in college. If I would have thought about those things when I was in high school before I had any debt, that would have changed the entire course of my college career, especially if somebody would have talked to me about taking something that I already like to do and selling it online. Because when I went to college, MySpace was a thing, Facebook was a thing already. So if somebody would have talked to me about selling something I like to do to people online, by now, like you can just imagine. And the same for you, if somebody were to talk to you about those things before you've already amassed this amount of debt working on whatever degree that you worked on or are working on now. Those type of things, yes, people are interested. People need this information, and they may not be looking for you because they really don't know you're out there. they know that student loans are an issue, but there's really nobody out there combating student loans head on. So people don't know to look for you. That's why you need to call and talk to guidance counselors and financial aid offices, because they understand the need, because they have to, they have to report on these things. They have to go to conferences on these things. So they understand the need, and in turn, they give you a larger audience to speak to. Most schools have a few hundred students. Some schools have over 1,000 students, especially if the high schools that you're targeting have a large student population, or even if you're talking to a college. Build these relationships so that these people remember you and turn to you when they need this information. There are so many schools, thousands of high schools and colleges in the United States, more than enough for you to go ahead and get started, and somebody else to get started in another state. Like, the options and the potential students, the recurring students, because there's never a year that there is a gap in, like, oh, we don't have any ninth graders this year. There are no students eligible for ninth grade. That never happens. So as students graduate and go on to college, you'll get more students coming on in. Once those students go to college or graduate from the colleges that you're working with, more students are going to come on in. So there are repeat customers that are interested and need this information from you. Another question is, are the students responsive? To be honest, some are. Like I said, I offered a free course, and there were some students that completed it and even funneled into my paid membership, but there were some that were not, and that's how I kind of created the idea to do a workshop just based on talking to the counselors in the local area. So that workshop is virtual. There'll just be a time that students log on to a webinar, we discuss a few things, and then they are able to go ahead and search within this environment and ask questions and receive real-time feedback to things that they're dealing with. There'll be a few days that were scholarship focused, and there'll be a few days that were digital product focused, because the goal is to create at least one digital product that you can begin selling, just so you see that you can create your own income, and that usually excites enough people to continue on with creating more digital products or taking something else that they like to sell. So what this is, even though it's kind of a new concept or a new way to approach it, it is necessary, and you can be successful doing it. I'm certain of it, and I'm proof of it. And there are more than enough schools that need your information, more than enough students, parents, and administrators that are already aware that student loan debt should be avoided. So why not get paid to share your experience and help somebody else avoid student loan debt as well? Thank you for your time. Definitely feel free to reach out, inbox me on Facebook, or email me if you got the meeting invite. However, because we can definitely get this thing started. If you have any other questions, email me, post on the Facebook, like I said, wherever, inbox me. We can definitely discuss any questions that you have, whatever information you need to get started, because like I said, I'm proof that this works. And if I can secure enough income to begin paying my own tuition out of pocket, I'm pretty sure that you can do the same as well. Enjoy your day.